Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Long Story Short with Nicole Pellegrino. I am so excited to get right into this episode with you all. This one has been a long time coming. We recorded this about a month or so ago with Nancy Mello. She's a pet psychic. And before we did the interview, which you'll hear in this episode, Mike, my husband, and I actually did a session with her with our dog Louie, where she was communicating with Louie. And basically, this was our first time talking to a pet psychic. We didn't know what to expect. We didn't know if it was going to be real. We didn't know how it would work. Nancy basically blew our minds from the get-go. Now, I'm not going to play our whole session with Nancy for you because then the episode would be 2 hours long. I'm going to play the first couple minutes because I'm telling you, right when we sat down with her and Louie, she started saying very spot on brand things, very specific things about Louie's needs and what he was asking of us. Throughout the whole session, she was talking about his preferences for where he likes to sleep, exactly where he likes to sleep in our bed, where he likes to play in our house, how he was mad about how the baby's stuff was coming in and we were leaving the baby's boxes unboxed in his play area. What else? Oh, how he wanted us to give him more baby carrots, which later that night we gave him baby carrots and he was gobbling them up. Everything down to his food preferences, to his walking preferences. It was just crazy how specific and on par she was. And how spoiled and demanding Louie is, but he's our baby. He deserves it. He gets to make his demands. But you'll hear in the episode that I do with her, I basically interview her and chat with her about what it's like being a pet psychic, what her background is, how she even got into it, because it's honestly just so fascinating. And then we really get into tips on how to transition your pet over to bringing home a new baby, which is, I know, a very relevant topic for a lot of you, including myself. I'm recording this little intro part literally the night before. It's 10:30 p.m. Love procrastination, don't we? I'm recording this the night before this episode comes out, and I'm going to pop it into the episode real quick. That's why you're not seeing me on camera. But the rest of this episode, you are going to see all of us on camera, so that's exciting. So yeah, after this, you're going to hear the first couple minutes of our session with Louie and Nancy and Mike, and then it'll be just me and Nancy chatting. So yeah, enjoy. Love you guys.
Sweet puppy. Okay, so I'm just going to check in with him, see how he's doing, and then we'll totally get into specific questions. He usually gets his walk mid-morning. He likes his morning walk, and he says he needs to walk farther down the street. He wants to go farther. You've been turning around sooner. And he says, I don't mind the rain. I don't mind the puddles. He said, I actually like the puddles, but you try and avoid them. And he likes the wet grass. He's very texture oriented, very he likes to sink his paws in. And he says, you don't let me sniff enough. I want more. Does he have a green or a darker colored leash?
Yes.
A black?
Yeah.
What color is it?
It's, well, his leash and collar are dark green.
Yeah.
And his harness is black.
Okay, so he says that he wants more room on the leash, that you pull him too close. He says, I'm not going to go far, but I need to sniff more. And you go outside and you go 20, 30 feet. There's a thinner tree and there's squirrels around it. And he says, I need to sniff that tree every single time. And he likes to go by the...
Oh, really?
He always pulls me that way. I always pull him the other way because I start the walk the other way.
Yeah. So I would just...
Show me that one. I don't know which one, but you know.
So I would just say with that, just make sure, so what I would do is, especially because he's calling it out, just make sure that you let him go. Because this is what will happen is when you, we'll chat here. And then when you do things after the session that they've asked for, then they're more willing to help you with things. So for instance, let's say you're stop barking or whatever, or stop barking out the window or do this.
Yes.
He's more willing to be well, you've met me on it's you're doing something for him,
Right.
He'll do something for you, but it will totally increase the bond just by doing little things. That's why I have some clients and it's very much pet therapy, and I'll speak to them every 6 months, every 4 months.
Yeah.
And they really do become family because we'll work on little things that happen in those months times, little and it's little check-ins. So but for him, the walks are like the number one important thing. So if you guys like, and it does rain, sleet, snow, he doesn't mind it. He doesn't like the booties that you put on him. He doesn't like them. Look, I love how like when you're like, he's like, he looks, he says, get them off of me. I don't like them. He says, and he's calling them boots. He says, you wear the boots. I don't wear the boots.
Yes, sir. Yes.
Like the like you have like wellies or galoshes or something. And he says, those are for you. They're not for me. And I don't like them. And he tries to kick them off. And he says, because again, he's very texture oriented. And so understand also with dogs, well, cats do, but they're releasing scent glands from the pads of their feet. So I understand you're in Hoboken, but like when he walked every step, there's scent, there's fur, this stuff is being released on the ground. So not only is it kind of marking his territory, it's also helping him figure out who's been there, what's been going on, etc.
Who decided to join in the background. He never sits in here with me.
Hi, sweet boy. Are you such a good puppy?
I think he's like truly obsessed with you because he came up and usually he just like hangs downstairs. Like,
you're such a good boy, Louie. Did we have a good talk? And we talked about how you're not going to growl, huh? And it's okay because you see your mom, you see your person, right? You see your person and she's safe and she'll let you know if she needs help and everything's okay. So I asked him if he understands what we're doing. And he says, I understand that you're talking, but he says, but I don't know where you are.
Louie,
I know your routine. He says, you've changed my routine. My routine is different. I know, honey. I know. And the weather's crummy too. That's why.
We've changed his routine a ton. Lack thereof.
You're such a good boy. Are you such a good puppy? Exactly.
He does this when I'm on a Zoom call, when I'm on, it's like.
Hold on. Hold on. You can come close, honey. You can come closer. Do you want to come closer?
I moved the pregnancy pillow off the bed.
He says, honey, I don't think she can come on the bed with you. Do you want her to come on the bed with you? Well, now try and remove your hand, and I'm letting him know that he's okay and he's safe just as he is. It's okay. Honey, you're not being ignored, though. You're not being ignored. You're here with us. I talk to you.
Hello, everyone. I am here with Nancy Mello. She's an animal communicator and medium, and she is just the best energy. We just did our session with me, Mike, and Louie. Nancy, everything you said truly in our session with Louie was so spot on. Like, even just in the beginning when you like knew the route that we walk Louie on, like, I don't know, Louie was very communicative with you the whole time. You were communicating with him. It was so fascinating. Like, I highly recommend. I know you're booked and busy, but like, people need to get on your calendar. So like, how are you doing? How are you feeling after that session? I'm making you jump right into more work doing this podcast.
No, I love it. I love getting to help people and animals in any way I can. And the really special thing about pregnancy in particular is there's a lot of things going on, not just with your body, but in the environment. And it's really special to talk to people during that time because it means that your pets matter to you, right? So I'm already speaking with someone that wants to help them, wants to keep that relationship. And B, a lot of times it's not exactly what you would expect with pregnancy. They may have, a lot of times they have different concerns than you would expect. So for instance, when we jumped into the session, his first concern was not about getting attention with baby, but about making sure that his route didn't change for his walk and that he got his smells in and that he didn't care about the weather. And to me, that says, you've given me enough comfort that I still feel like I'm going to be up there as far as being important. But this is what's important to me is I still get my walks in. And it's also really interesting. A lot of times I'll hear about, we talked a little bit about food, but generally one of the main concerns with pregnancy, when I talk to pets about what's to come is, well, when am I going to be fed? Am I going to be fed on time? And interestingly enough, Louie didn't have that concern. To me, that tells me that you guys are extremely consistent in when you feed them and when you feed him, and also in the amount. We did hear a little bit about the treats and being more consistent in the treats. But again, what's important to Louie you might not have thought of. So for instance, he was talking about making sure that the doors were open even for the baby's room. And you would think about when you have a child, you're going to want to shut the door because of noise. But to him, it was really important that that access remained open. So it's little things like that. And as I was telling Mike, when you do things, and you don't have to do everything that I suggest or what they said, but when you start to do things that they have commented on, that bond just deepens, because then they go, okay,
Right.
I know you've heard me. Now I can be closer to you. Now I know that you're going to meet my other needs. So when other needs inevitably pop up, especially when having a newborn, sometimes it can make them even more understanding of what's to come. So I love working with couples, with people that are going through the experience. And even, it doesn't even have to be pregnancy per se, but let's say you're adopting. Let's say you,
Any big life change
any
happening in the
big life
household.
change, move, partners moving in, partners moving out, anything like that. It's all about, what does your pet understand from their point of view, from their consciousness? And then what can you do to help them, A, feel secure, and also what do they need to continue their happiness? And I know that was a big concern for you, that he was going to continue to be happy.
Yeah. And like truly everything, again, everything you said is so like on brand for Louie. Like the things he was concerned about, the time, like going out, having enough time to go out. And like I just feel like we met with you and did that session at such the perfect time. I'm 34 weeks as of tomorrow. This baby's coming sooner and sooner every day. And so like it was just the perfect time to meet with you and prep Louie for the huge transition, which I want to get into more of that, like just in general. I know there's so many people in my audience that are preparing for a baby and want to prep their dog for that huge transition. That's actually how I found you, was through like a handful of audience members, because I posted something like a couple months ago, or like a couple weeks ago, I don't even know, a month ago. And I on my Insta story, and I was like, guys, I think I'm losing my mind. Maybe it's pregnancy or whatever, but Louie and I like speak the same language. Like we can really understand each other. I was like, I swear Louie speaks English, but I'm probably going crazy. And I got a ton of DMs where people were like, no, you're actually not going crazy. Like that's very normal, like to be able to intuitively kind of understand your dog and their needs. And at this point, like my audience knows Louie and I, like me and Mike with Louie, he is our world. Everything we do is for him. Like we are those dog parents. I know you can understand, out of all people. I mean, literally, he's in the room right now making me like rub his belly and rub him. Anyways, I guess just like to start with your background before we get into the whole like preparing your dog for the baby kind of thing. When I reached out to you, I had never talked to an animal communicator. I didn't know what they were. Again, got recommended to you. You got recommended to me by a bunch of my audience members, but like what is an animal communicator? Can you explain exactly like how you do it, how you use your gift?
Sure. So animal communication is no different than any other kind of intuitive, psychic, medium connection. I don't hear any voices. I'm not seeing anything physically, but it comes to me through a train of thought. So for instance, I'm talking with Louie this morning, and initially, as I'm just sitting here with you guys, I just heard, I want to go out, but I want to go the longer way, etc. So I know immediately these aren't my thoughts, because I am sitting here in the chair in my office, blah, 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 right? So I know these aren't mine. So the first thing, and to your point, everyone is an animal communicator. Everyone has these abilities. It's because of I've always been a medium ever since I was little. Ever since I can remember, I've been able to talk to people that have passed. I've been able to understand future stuff, be able to read people, and I've had a special connection with animals. So coming from that background, I immediately understand, okay, these thoughts are not mine, and then to trust them. And that's the real key point when you're talking to your pets. Is I usually say, start with a yes or no answer. Do you like your food? Do you want to go out more? And these are not going to be open-ended questions. And then you just trust what you hear, or you can go on your phone, you can go to your notes folder, and you just start putting down what you hear, but keep it really basic. Do you want a longer walk? And you can say, okay, maybe, how do I know these aren't my thoughts? Well, initially you don't, but you trust them, because worst case comes, a long time from now you pass and you realize somehow this was all crap and it wasn't really your pet. Well, if it helps you or if it helps your pet, who the hell cares, right? So you would start like that. And so that's what I did with Louie this morning. I started professionally. I came out as a medium. I thought talking to animals was a little too crazy. I thought being a medium was my level of crazy that I was willing to handle in the public eye. So I actually really started as a medium. And as the universe, I think life has a way of showing you where you're going. And I'd really felt for a long time this is what I was supposed to be doing. And I was so resistant because I'm introverted. I'm very sensitive to criticism. I dislike rejection, and who does, but I'm very insular. I'm just very, kind of cuddled up. I don't like a lot of attention on me. I don't like people mad at me, stuff like that. I'm just super freaking sensitive. So why the hell would I risk not only myself, but risk the reputation of my family? At the time, my partner was an active duty service member. So I was very cautious about what this would do to my partner and my children. And one day when I was working as a medium, and I had spoken to pets before on calls if they came through. And my missing pet work actually started because I remember this. I was getting out of the shower and someone messaged me from Long Island and said, our dog is missing and he's diabetic and he's been missing like 2 days at that point. And of course, the universe knew how to get me. My dog is sick, okay. And that is Oliver from Long Island. We found him. I was able to sense where he was. He was actually stuck under, I believe, like a boat or something, but the family had actually checked before the call. And I remember telling them, like, the first thing I was like, it's down a long dirt road. And I'll never forget the reaction was, long dirt road. We're in Long Island. Where's a long dirt road? And I kept seeing this and I saw, like, I was giving them details and I don't know if I was getting a street name, but I can get names and numbers and stuff like that. Anyway, they went back to the spot and I remember working with him because I did feel like he was stuck. I kept feeling like he was stuck. And I remember just doing everything just in my head going, you have to get unstuck. You have to get unstuck. And they found him dazed, close to passing, but they found him dazed by that just what I described. They were able to rush him to the vet, and he is still alive to this day, Oliver on Long Island. I adore his whole family, but that's really how it started. And then a few months later,
I had an acquaintance that had a dog named Cleo that I had worked with before, and she was getting ready to go. And this is where I started understanding that animals, just like people, can have bucket lists. They can have things that they really want to do before they go. And so, by acquaintance, I mean that I knew her in town, but I had no idea of her background. I didn't know where she lived. I had no idea anything about her other than I would see her and say hello. And so Cleo was talking about there were very specific birds that Cleo wanted to see. There was a very specific place that Cleo wanted to go that I had no idea about. So, and there were a few other things that Cleo wanted to do. And then right as COVID was really hitting, that time when we were using the homemade masks, Lisa texts me and says, Cleo's ready to go. And because I was close enough, I think I'm about a 30-minute drive from her, which if you live in New England, that's a long freaking way to go. We don't usually go longer than a few minutes. We don't like to drive any longer than that. But I went over to Cleo's house, and there was a couple of things that was significant. Number one was when I pulled in, there was a black dog that passed right in front. I actually had to stop before I parked at the house. There was a black dog walking by. So I go in, and there's Cleo laying down, and she's this beautiful white dog. And the first thing I heard her say was, "Are you here to take me?" And I just, no, sweet girl, I'm not. I'm just here to say hello.
Like she knew she was passing away.
She knew she was getting ready to go. And she said, she had this beautiful view of like a sliding door in her bedroom, and there was like this beautiful little hill, and then there was the water that she could see. And she showed me that that's where she wanted to go, by the tree. And she said, the black dog is waiting for me. The big black dog is waiting for me. And I told her person, Lisa, I said, Lisa, that's really interesting. I just passed a black dog. And she started laughing. And she said that that person that was walking the black dog used to have another black dog. The black dog passed a couple of years ago, and him and Cleo were the best friends. And this was the replacement black dog. So sure enough, there was a dog waiting for her. And I find this now in my current work. Generally, animals and people will get ready to greet pets, just like with humans. So there's a lot of near-death experiences, but even like work with like, and if you talk to people in hospice, they'll talk about, oh, so-and-so is waiting for me. They'll start.
Yeah. Will our pets wait for us?
100%. 100%. So we will see them as well. And actually, there's a story that I found on Reddit about an older man that was in his final minutes before he passed, and he kept calling out his name, and no one knew who it was. And even the guy's wife had no idea who it was. He kept saying, oh, she's here, so excited. And then like a year later, they're going through photos, and there was a photo of a little dog. And the name was the dog he was calling out, and it was a dog from his childhood that they had found and was waiting. Yeah. So Cleo said, we talked for a few minutes, but she absolutely knew she was ready to go. She wanted to go outside. She wanted other dogs not to bark, like all of these things. And it ended up being this beautiful passing. But what makes this so memorable is actually what happened a couple of weeks later. So unbeknownst to me, Lisa Cleo's person doesn't dream. And Cleo came to her in a dream, and she showed her Cleo's picture up in lights. And I believe I was included in that somehow. And Cleo said, you're going to see my name in lights. About a year later, I had a call from a magazine called Dogster, and they were working on a story about people that help with end-of-life work with pets. Yeah. And they wanted to interview me. In that interview, I talked about Cleo. And so
Cleo's name was in lights.
Cleo's name was in lights. And
Cleo told you that prediction.
There have been other instances of that where I will mention her and her name seems to get featured. It's such a beautiful affirmation.
Yeah.
And so again, as I started as a medium, I thought, pets, I've always, animals have been my entire life. In fact, I have one cat right now named Katniss, and that is the least amount of cats I have had since I moved out of my house. I have two dogs, one cat, and one husband is what I like to say, because,
there are animals as well.
So I've just really allowed in my work, whether it's in my mediumship, whether it's in my intuition with pets, to allow the universe to guide me where I'm needed. And that's what I've always really lived by, is I have a code of ethos. I am decided that if I was going to do this professionally, I wanted to make sure that I did it on my terms, which meant no BSing. I'm not afraid to say no. I'm not afraid to say I'm not sure. I will always tell you the truth, because A, I'm neurodivergent, and I don't think I really know how to lie per se. And B, because I think this perception of animal communicators and psychics is very woo-woo, and I think that's another reason why I didn't want to do this professionally and step out, because I remember saying that to the universe as well. Like, I'm not woo-woo. I'm not into
there's so many skeptics out there who just no matter what you say, how spot on it is, they won't believe it. I feel like they'll draw the lines and be like, she could have guessed that by this.
But I'm okay with skeptics. I'm a skeptic myself. Like I surprised the hell out of myself. Like when I said, I remember when we were talking on the phone, I said the name that I said, and I even told you, I said, I rarely get names right, but I keep hearing this name, and and I am only not a skeptic because I've proved it's like things happen.
It's been proven.
But I welcome skeptics are great. It's not about being skeptic. I think it's about understanding, as my partner likes to say, isn't there an Eisenhower or whatever quote about, it's magic is just things that we haven't learned yet or we haven't discovered yet. But I think the assumption is to say everyone's trying to screw everyone over. And I think sometimes it's hard to believe that Like, I honestly, like, this is my calling. I will be
Well,
doing this
and
for the
that's
rest
the
of my
thing,
life.
like the work you just told me about those two stories about Cleo and the cat that you like, those were two stories where the work you're doing is so truly fulfilling and so comforting to these pet owners. Like, you're literally helping pet owners get ready for their pets passing or helping them find their missing pets, or in my case, helping give us comfort to prep our dog for the big transition to come that is about to rock all of our worlds, that is a baby. Like, the work you're doing is helpful, meaningful, and actually makes a difference in people's and their pets' lives. So, like, yeah, I mean, I can understand how it would be so scary. I mean, it's scary to put any work out into the world, any especially creative work, because you're going to get haters and you're going to get critics and skeptics and people saying stuff like we just talked about. But I'm glad the universe has pushed you in this direction, because it really is, it's helping people at the end of the day. It's using your talents and your gifts to help people. Now, does it ever get like daunting and exhausting? Are you ever like, oh, I kind of wish I just worked a different quote normal job?
I don't like to say never, always, anything like that. I don't wish that, because I worked those other jobs. I feel like I've been the Jane of all trades. I've done so many different things. I was a fitness instructor. I worked in private security as an account manager. I've worked actually in political elections before. Like, I've done so many different things. It does get emotionally exhausting, especially when we're working with grief. Because as I will say, I am not a therapist. I did not go to school for psychology. Actually, my background is in gender studies, political science, and criminology. So while a social science, I am not, it's so funny. And I do joke with the universe, like, if you guys really knew that I was going to go here, like, could I not have just gotten a background in psychology? But anyway, so yeah, so the grief is a lot. And I joke that how I relax is I watch reality TV, and I like to play Mario Kart. I like to play video games. I play Pokemon Go with my son. I call myself a Pokemom. My son has autism, and I am so grateful to connect with him on those levels. I absolutely am able to turn off. But sometimes, yeah, I have days where it's session after session of grief, and it's
And
such
this
an
is like
honor.
animal grief, like people
Yeah, well,
grieving.
and it could be both, right? I
Okay.
mean, it's interesting. Grief is grief, but
True.
it's I'm so honored, and I say this all the time on my social media, like, I'm so honored that people trust me. I'm so honored that you guys follow me, whatever. But it's true, and I am so touched, because to me, I'm just Nancy, right? I'm just a dork. I'm just I'm just a dork. So for people to trust me with those deep feelings, there's nothing like it.
You're almost becoming like people's therapists in a way, I feel like, because they're just coming to you so open and honest.
I like to say that I am not a replacement for a veterinarian. I am not a
Totally.
replacement for a therapist. I do believe that animal communicators and psychics can work in conjunction with doctors and therapists. And I am, again, honored to call quite a few veterinarians as clients. Actually, doctors and people in the medical field are probably the most common profession that I work with. I
No
have
way.
yeah,
Oh, I
I've
love
talked
that.
with neurosurgeons. Yeah, and to me it's fascinating, because then at the end I always want to pick their brain as well and go, how do you think I do this? But
Yeah.
I think to be able to hold someone's grief, to objectively be able to hear what their pet or their person is saying. I know that it's I'm chosen for it. So Sylvia Brown, who was a famous psychic, she died a few years ago. She used to say the best psychics don't have to advertise. And I truly believe that. I believe that anyone that comes to me, that's in the cards, so to speak.
Right.
That's so you and I are meant to connect. And in that
Right.
regard, if we're meant to connect, I will do everything in my power to help you. Now, of course, I can be wrong, and I will absolutely tell you, maybe I heard this incorrectly. But especially with grief, I always ask the universe, what can I do to help them? And then from there, okay, do you need to speak with a therapist? Is there someone else that you can speak to? Are you already in a pet loss support group? There apparently is a great pet loss support group on Reddit that I've heard about it. I don't like to Google my name, but apparently I've been talked about on there. But anything like that, like how can you further work through this stuff? And a lot of times with grief, it's did I make the right decision? Was it the right time? Did they suffer? Were they happy? And being able to extract specific details to prove to them that I am hearing their pet. Sometimes that can be enough, and that's awesome.
Just knowing that they're happy, they're at peace.
But I always recommend talking to people. And unfortunately, with pets, people don't seem to get the same kind of grief support that if you lose a family member.
So that's the thing. I've always thought about that too. I'm like, yeah, my mom died when I was 24, way too soon. It was, cancer. I had to watch her go through it. It was traumatic. It was the hardest thing to this day I've ever gone through. Probably will be the hardest thing I'll ever have to go through. I'm still grieving that every day, right? But I always say to people, I'm like, Louie is, I don't know if you believe in a soul dog, but like Louie is my child, my soul dog, my everything. Mike and I talk about it probably 3 times a day, that when he eventually goes before us, inevitably, we are going to just be a wreck. Like, we are both going to need intensive grief support, therapy, all the support groups, all the things. And it's crazy because it's like, people will be like, well, Nicole, you lost your mom. And I'm like, I know. And I've been getting support since the day that happened. And that's hard. But like, when Louie dies, like, I don't know. I'm gonna, like, I could cry about it right now, truly. So I agree with your point. It's like, we need to give people support for pets going too, just as much as humans.
Again, allowing people that grace and affirmation that they're not alone. And I think a lot of times someone like me could be the first person that says these feelings are valid, that you're warranted in the grief. And then another thing I get quite a bit is I feel guilty because the loss of my pet, I feel worse over them than my grandfather, my mom, another person. And the judgment that we put on ourselves, when you're saying I shouldn't feel this way about my pet, it's not affirming that connection that animals can have as big of an impact, if not more impact, than people in our lives. And that is perfectly okay. And in my world, it's perfectly normal.
Yeah.
We have animals that come in at certain times of our life to help us with certain things, just like people. And I would say, instead of soul, I would say just they're more mission based. Like they come here with a plan that we're going to help with understanding your vulnerability. We're going to help with your playfulness, whatever. So they come in, not so much with an agenda, but these are things that I want to help teach this person. And so, yes, they are, that connection, that deep connection is something that you will hold the rest of your life. And it is just as valid, if not more valid, than some relationships with people you have. And that idea of a soul dog or an animal that just sees you, that true you. And that's, again, why I say more like a mission-based animal, or just an animal guide, so to speak. And it's interesting because not every pet is going to be that mission-based. Not every pet is going to be that soul pet for you. But those that are, it's interesting. I always see them kind of on the right side and this is me getting a little woo-woo, but I always see them kind of on the right side of us, whereas our guides and our angels, ancestors, are on the left side. But that pet, and generally you have one or two in your life that really stick with you. And if I asked your audience right now, think of one pet that it hits right here. You'll think of a name like that. And if not, that's okay too. They're still coming in. So knowing that they don't ever leave us with those soul connections, they are with us 24 hours a day, very similar to our guides, etc. And that is a choice that they make. They want to be with us. They are safe and sound at home in heaven. They like to still do their job of taking care of us.
Oh, I love that mission base. They're just the best. Like, they're just the most pure. I'm obsessed with all animals, especially dogs, though. I want to get into talking about the big topic of the month, which is preparing our dogs for the big changes in our lives, the babies that are to come. So just to start right off the bat, do our dogs know when we become pregnant? Do they know before? Does it take them a while? Like, when do dogs generally, or pets in general, when do pets generally start to realize that their owner might be pregnant?
So I want to go a step further and say all animals. When I was pregnant with my first child, I was living in Hawaii, and I was six weeks, real early. And I went to go swim with the dolphins. And I remember I told the dolphin trainers, hey, I'm pregnant. And they were like, yeah, they know. And I said, no kidding. And they said, yeah, like they will know before we do. And sure enough, one of the dolphins that I swam with, and this is before I was doing this professionally. This was when I was simply Nancy, the military spouse. And I remember the dolphin swam in addition, but the dolphin kept swimming around my stomach and really seemed keen on hanging out there. So I want to include that if your animal of choice is a rabbit or even a bearded dragon or a snake or a bird, they also can sense. This isn't limited to cats and dogs. And because there's a lot of people out there that do have other types of animals. So they know before we do. And so the question is how, and again, because I'm science-based, let's look at kind of science, which is that dogs and cats have an incredible amount of smelling and hearing that we do not have. Actually, if you Google, I believe scientists can't really agree on how much more their hearing and their smell is. So they smell your hormonal changes just as if you were getting your period every month. They smell that those changes have occurred. They can hear things in your stomach, in that area of your body. So they absolutely know. And there's no judgment. I mean, you could take this a step further and say, do they know when we've had sex? Yes, they don't care. But
Okay, good.
no,
Thank God.
they don't. Actually, sometimes they're just like, what are you doing? And they walk away. They don't. It's interesting though. I have a TikTok on sex, and but that's a whole other podcast. No, so absolutely they understand, depending on their personality, because animals are autonomous beings. They will react one way or another. They may act ambivalent. They may act more clingy. It just depends. And this will and can change as the pregnancy develops and evolves. So that's why it's important when you're pregnant, you tell your pet what you need. Tell Fluffy that you love it when she lays by you, especially if you're nauseated in those first few months. I just feel like I need sleep. Will you stay by me? This is what I need. I love when you're in the bathroom with me. I love when I can just pet you. Whatever it is, just explain to them this is what you need. As you start getting ready for baby, when packages start coming in, when you start moving things around, the key is to really keep the routine as much as you can. And especially with their stuff, make sure that you are not changing anything too radically, because they will alert to that. So to keep them as comfortable as possible and keep them feeling as secure as possible, it means if you do need to move their bed because it's going to be in baby's room, try and move it earlier and try to see, okay, do they want it, like we were talking about with Louie, does he want it in the living room? Does he want it in the bedroom? Make sure that they have a space that they can go, so that when things are moving around, that space isn't changing. Routine is key throughout pregnancy. The walks, the food, all of that stuff. It's really imperative that they are able to smell everything that is coming for baby. Boxes, packages, etc. Letting them hear it. Do you have baby toys that are crinkling? Let them hear it. They may want to take it. So if they do, what I suggest, and we talked about this a little bit with when people come over,
Yes.
You're going to want to give something to them. So for instance, let's say you have a dog that's really into that crinkly sound and they really want to take that sunflower toy that's for baby. Well, can you have someone go get something similar and
Yeah.
give it to them so that they have their special one? So it's really important to include them in every aspect of preparing for baby.
I like that because, like, even when Mike and I were unboxing our stroller, for example, like, we were like, oh, Louie wants to be involved in this. Like, he was kind of sniffing everything that we were unboxing from and he usually, like, isn't, I mean, I'm unboxing packages all day, every day, and he's usually not that interested unless, like, he can tell it's for him. But with the stroller, he was really like, wanted to sniff every part. And we were like, yeah, let's let him be involved because it just was a fun little thing to do. But it was just so funny too, because in our session with you, I liked your point about not changing things too rapidly for the dog, because I feel like we kind of did that at one point. We got everything delivered all at once. And suddenly Louie's main play area just got filled with baby boxes and we could not unbox things fast enough. So it was kind of sitting there for like a couple weeks at a time. And we didn't even bring this up, you guys. Literally in our session with Nancy, she was like, there's something, he doesn't have enough room to play and move because of something with the baby. And we were like, oh my God, it's the pile, it's the mountain of boxes.
Well, and it was on the side. He didn't like
side.
Sides were like kind of blocked or whatever.
Yes.
He made that clear.
Yeah. So like, I love your point about, you know, when you guys are out there prepping for the baby, like try to do things starting in advance and don't wait like us and procrastinate it and do it all at once, because that radical change for the dog is just gonna rock them. And also your point about just like communicating. We were telling you too, we've had a bunch of people, whether it's men delivering and dropping off dressers, the lady that did the wallpaper in the nursery, just a bunch of random people coming in and out of this house every single day. I could tell Louie was kind of getting anxious from it. And like you were telling us, like, before these people come over, just let them know, let your pet know, like, hey, this woman's name is so-and-so. She's going to be putting up wallpaper for however long in the nursery. And kind of just letting them know helps ease their anxiety, right?
Yeah. And so you would say, Sarah is coming over to help. She's going to be finished by the time the sun is lower in the sky, by the time the stars come out. You can stay by me. I'll let you know if I need anything. You just explain, but that would include, so if people are coming over and if they feel a little anxious, this is where we talk about having a special area for the pet. And this goes for cat, dog, rabbit, etc. Having a special area where they can have a time out, because one thing that I, as an animal communicator, cannot prepare them for is the amount of noise that newborn in particular makes. And so having them an area, giving them an area, and if they can specify one, even better, like we were specifying with Louie, where he knows that he can go and chill out and you're not going to bother him, that's even better. So let's say if people are coming over and he's feeling overwhelmed and you can tell he's getting a little agitated, okay, sweet boy, you can go lay down, and you can even go and show him and say, I'll be safe. I'll let you know if I need anything. I want to touch on the stroller really quick though, because the only thing I would say is take it a step further and go and walk with him now with the stroller.
Okay.
If you plan on baby wearing, wear that thing around and just, again, let them get used to seeing you with this. But at the same time, pets are like children themselves, and they're going to have days where they're just like, I don't want any part of this. I'm getting annoyed at everyone. And they're going to have days that they're amazing, and allowing that, and again, giving them a safe area where they can go. And also understand this is overwhelming. I mean, if this is overwhelming for us, and again, understanding that they can smell our hormones, they can hear our heart rate. So if we're stressed, they can also feel that stress. So just trying to maintain that kind of level emotionally, that level-headedness. And even if you just have to go, okay, everything's okay, Louie, it's okay. You can go lay down. I'm okay. Mike's okay. But really just assuring them, it doesn't have to be a whole conversation. So and so's coming over, everything's okay. And then after baby comes, when people come over, make sure that they are acknowledging your pet as well. So, for instance, with Louie, it's really important for him, as we talked about, as he mentioned, that he is also greeted and giving him a special toy, giving him something as well so he doesn't feel left out. But some animals are going to be like, screw you. You know, why are these people here? And so in that case, it would just be, if you know that that's how your pet is, really giving them even more space. Again, this is not a one size fits all, and it could change depending on the day, but giving them that levity, giving them that flexibility, because we're going through stuff too. So maybe they get tired of the people. Sometimes we're going to be tired.
Yeah.
But also, if they can help in any way, Louie, can you come lay down with me? Louie, will you keep me company when I'm recording something? Just ask, like giving them a way that they can help us.
I like that you use help, because that's fun. It's almost like that clicked when you started talking. Like, even when I was sitting over in the desk and Louis was on the bed, and you said something along the lines of like, "Oh, we know you want to help out, Louis," and I'm like, that makes sense. He's not trying to be annoying. He's not trying to like get
No.
attention all the time like we thought he was. He's trying to make sure he's helping. So like literally, like I said, I'm sitting on the bed and he's touching me right now. I think half because he does love your energy, because he really never wants to do this for this long when I'm on like Zoom calls or anything with other people. But yeah, I like that you frame it as like they just want to help. So even just looking at it through that lens kind of makes it, I feel like, for these new parents, kind of makes it just like sweeter, and lets them have more empathy for their pet during this time. Because I talk to so many people who are like, you know, we hear all the time, you're Louie's gonna get thrown to the wayside. You guys are not gonna want to give Louie attention. Louie's gonna get neglected when the baby comes. Which, like, I'm like, obviously our attention is going to shift a lot to the baby, but I think, like you're mentioning, there are so many ways to help these dogs not feel neglected and help these pets not feel neglected with such a huge transition. Are there things like we should be doing when we're in the hospital? Like you mentioned on our session, bringing a blanket or a hat from the baby home, or having somebody deliver that home to the dog first so they can kind of sniff it. Are there other logistical things like that we should be doing?
So first, I want to mention that my Akita, when I was pregnant with my first, she ate Christmas presents. Like, talking about acting out. She was eating Christmas presents. That's how she was stressed. I know Louie's been biting the blankets. And again, all of that is normal, and you can do the best you can with your pets. As long as you're trying to help them, it's okay. It's okay. With, I think that the labor part is the most tense time for everyone. I know my Akita would not let anyone in the house. We had these wonderful friends in Hawaii where we were living, and Koa knew these people like nothing. She had spent time with them every few days for the last year, and Koa would not let my friend in the house. So animals are very aware that something is happening, very aware. Not just because of your energy and the smells that you left with when you left, but they absolutely understand something's changing. So the main thing is to have a game plan ahead of time for your pets, and then also being flexible with that game plan changing. And I'm thinking of my neighbor, who they had this birth plan for their second child. And of course that went to crap, and she ended up in labor at 1 a.m. and her mom was an hour and a half away. And I went and stayed with her sleeping son and the dog. And it was just like, it was, you know, you'd be willing to modify, but really important that I've seen work and help with people giving birth is having someone that they're already familiar with, that has already stayed with them And I think that was, looking back, that was probably my mistake, is that our good friends they'd been over to our house, but they hadn't stayed over.
Right.
And so when Steph tried to go in and do this stuff, and Co was like, no, you don't come over here when I'm not here, or when my people aren't here. Like, you haven't done that before. So doing trial runs, or where, like, so for instance, if one of your parents is going to be watching them, so maybe have your mother-in-law come over while you guys are at dinner. So get your pet used to, and if it's your friend, whoever it is that's going to help with your pet, have them come over ahead of time while you're off doing something, and have them come into the house by themselves, so they understand when it's not a tense situation that, oh, so and so can come in. And of course, you're going to tell them, you're going to say, okay, we're going out, so and so is coming over, we'll be back by the time the stars are in the sky, etc. So having that can really help them, and you can even do that a few times. And animals can be alone, dogs can be alone, but I really think that someone staying with them really helps keep them calm. If an extended family member, if at all possible, a friend, just to sleep over, make sure they're getting fed on time, make sure that they're getting even a little walk, just being allowed out, because that's, I wouldn't say an animal's biggest fear, but that's really when they get most concerned.
Yeah, like
Or
they don't want it affecting their routine and their
but
lives too much.
they're worried about us. I was talking about when we were in the session about how I have yet to be able to successfully explain to dogs and cats how a baby comes from the belly to in our arms. They don't get that. Like, if I said, well, we poop them out, they won't get, they're like, what? Yeah. So that all they know is that they smell that when we left, that was very different. That, and this goes, let's say you're adopting, let's say that, someone else is having the child for you. Like, that goes, your stress is still going here when you're going to pick up baby, whether it's for the airport or in the hospital. So I would recommend this across the board to do this, because no matter what, your emotions are changing. So they're already on alert for, oh my gosh, something is changing. So if they have someone come over that they know that has come over before when you haven't been there, and to stay with them and to really keep a more harmonious environment, it helps keep them calm and understanding that my people are okay, that my people are not leaving forever, that they're coming back. And when you're in the hospital, your partner, whoever, you can even connect with them. With your eyes closed, picture them in your head. You say their name like you're thinking about getting bananas at the grocery store. This is what I always say. And then you'll say, Louie, you'll say one dark night. You wouldn't say sleeps, because animals sleep during the day. So it would be one dark night, 2 dark nights, but you just send love. Just everything's okay. Yeah. 3 words, but everything's okay. And that can comfort them as well.
Oh, I really love that. Okay. Well, and yeah, I like that you mentioned like having a plan too, like for who's watching them during labor, and even just a plan after for like who's going to help, if anybody, who's going to kind of be the main walker, who's going to keep them in their routine. Because that was something like Mike and I don't have that fully yet, but that's something we're definitely going to look into. Like you were like, Louie might do well with like pack walks, which is so on brand for him because he loves other dogs and loves seeing his friends. So like truly after this, I'm going to hire some sort of like part-time walker situation for after.
But honestly, worst case of worst, let's say you can have someone come over and check on the cats, or, let the dogs out. It's not the end of the world. Do the best you can. I'm not going to hear 2 years later in a communication session about how you left the dog alone for 12 hours. You do the best you can. These are all ideal scenarios. And, for instance, in my case, I think Koa was alone for maybe 10 hours until my husband could get home to let her out. And it was just one of those things where we didn't, you may need adjustments, and that's okay. Yeah. But really, you can't. Just be gentle on yourself, because the fact that you're thinking about them in this capacity at all, and you're thinking, how is this going to affect them? How can we do better? That's something that not everyone does to begin with. So the fact that you're already considering that, they know that you're trying to help them. So just be gentle on yourself. There's going to be walks that get missed. There's going to be food that's going to be fed, they're going to be fed late. There's going to be different things that happen. These are all things that you can attempt to do. And if you can even do 25% of them, that's awesome. But it's not the end of the world if something else happens, and it's the most important thing is that, you guys are safe and healthy and that the dog or cat or rabbit is okay.
You are amazing and answered pretty much all of my questions. So thank you so much. I guess the last one I have that I was kind of thinking about for this was, we talked a lot about like preparing Louie for this huge transition, but something I always forget, I'm like, I want our future baby, our daughter, to really feel a bond with Louie and the two of them. Cause like, when you think about it, he's going to be her childhood dog growing up. And I had those that I loved. Yeah. How can we, without like being overbearing helicopter parents that we are, how can we ensure that our future baby and our dog are really bonding?
Just let it happen.
Okay.
It's it's easier said than done.
Yeah.
And we were talking about this with Louie, if they're interested, letting them sniff baby. And bringing something home when you're in the hospital or if you're going to pick up baby from elsewhere, bringing a blanket of theirs home, bringing something that smells like them prior, that can help a lot. But so yeah, just let it happen. It's some animals are going to run the other way. Katniss, my cat now, when my son was little, she couldn't get away far enough from my son.
That's why I love cats.
It took her a while to warm up to him. My Akita, that was so ferocious when my daughter was born, there are so many amazing photos of Koa with her just licking her and taking care of her. I would say, in addition to letting it happen, allow them to be curious, but also allow them to run the other way and understand they're also adjusting to this. And that's where you get into that safe space for pets, that you don't force it. If they do that, then what you're going to do, let's say they're just hanging out in the closet and they're doing that for like 2 weeks. You just go and you sit with them, hopefully without baby, and you just sit by them. You don't try and grab them, but you just spend quality time with them, 5 or 10 minutes. That's also going to be huge after baby, is spending individual time and letting them know that they are loved and important. But when you allow that relationship to come out, it becomes organic. It becomes what the pet wants it to be. And not every pet is going to want to be a baby's best friend, just like Katniss. They're not all going to want to give licks. They may be apprehensive. They may growl. All of these reactions are normal. But with time and routine and love towards the pet as an autonomous being, as something that matters in your life, it will work out in its own way. And that's where also talking to someone like me after baby can help within a couple of months. So you have like this pregnancy, and then you have after, what's working, what's not, what do they need that you've missed? What can we change? And that can help a lot.
Definitely going to be coming to you after to check in with him.
It's just a matter of the fact that you're even thinking about this, again, is huge. But knowing that as long as you're doing the best you can,
totally,
they're going to be okay. They're going to be okay.
Nancy, well, I cannot even begin to thank you enough for our session, for talking to my audience and giving us all these amazing tips and knowledge into what our pets are thinking and how to ease them into this transition. So thank you so much. Where can we all find you, your incredible content, and book sessions with you?
You can find me on my website, nancymello.com. That's MELLO.com. On Instagram, it's Nancy Mello Official. TikTok, it's nancy.mello. YouTube, honestly, it's something with Nancy Mello in it. But on TikTok in particular, I do have a playlist for pregnancies and babies. So that's cool that you can just look through. I'm really waiting for the day that Instagram has playlists as well, because that would be super helpful.
Yeah.
So yeah, just watching stuff if you're in this situation. And I want to mention really quickly, this isn't have to be baby. You can use these same things about moving, about partners coming in. It would be the same concepts with boxes, with moving things around, etc. It's just finding a routine, making sure they're comfortable with whatever. But yeah, you can find me online. My bookings open, so I book in quarters. So my bookings open for January through March, December 3rd.
Okay, cool. Well, thank you so much. Louie just started like twitching and having a dream next to me, I think.
Hi, sweet puppy. Love you, Louie. Thanks for speaking with me, Louie. You're such a good puppy, and you're going to be such a good big puppy, big brother.